이번 게스트는 이 전시의 주인공이신 오브리 파월 작가님이고요. 인사 한번 부탁드릴게요.
Good afternoon and welcome, and I'm Aubrey Powell from Hipgnosis, and good to see you and thank you for coming. I'm very happy to be here in Seoul. It's a privilege to be asked to be here, and I'm very happy about the exhibition too. I was very anxious when I arrived because you never know. It's a strange place and a new way of showing hypnosis artwork, which is very important to me. But I have to say thank you to everybody concerned with GROUNDSEESAW. They've done a brilliant job. Thank you.
사실은 워낙 거리가 먼 나라이기도 하고 한국의 문화가 그렇게 익숙하시지는 않을 것 같아서 저희가 처음 전시를 제안드리면서도 되게 생소하실 거라는 생각을 많이 했었는데요. 그라운드시소라는 곳에 그 제안을 처음 받으셨을 때 어땠는지가 좀 궁금합니다.
So, since I arrived in Seoul, I've been coming every day to the exhibition to check on everything and see how it looks, and I didn't change a thing. It's really well done and really well curated, because initially I just sent all the pictures and all I saw was some drawings, and it's been faithfully reproduced exactly as it was intended. So I'm delighted.
저희가 이제 실제로 전시장을 보셨을 때 어떠신지를 또 한번 다시 여쭤보려고 했는데 사실 방금 거의 다 말씀을 해주셔서 가장 좋았던 존이나 공간을 한번 관람객분들한테 소개해 주신다면 거기가 어딘지 좀 궁금하네요.
I think the floor which I like the best in the exhibition is the one which is devoted to The Dark Side of the Moon, the Pink Floyd album cover that we designed. Because the idea of putting a mirror on the ceiling, which I hope you have all seen, is really a work of genius. It's fantastic. It's reflecting all the way through. And that is the idea of the graphic design. It's a symbol which is about the reflection of light. So when you have a mirror on a ceiling, it's a reflection of light. It's clever. It's good stuff.
아마 이제 여기 계신 분들은 저희 전시에 대한 부분보다 힙노시스라는 곳 자체에 대해서 가장 궁금한 점들이 많으실 것 같은데요. 본격적인 토크를 시작하기에 앞서서 힙노시스가 어떤 곳인지 간략히 좀 소개 부탁드릴게요.
The word hypnosis comes from two words. One, hip, meaning cool, like jazz, cool. And the other word is gnostic, which in Latin means wise. So when you join the two words together, Hipgnosis, it means cool and wise. And this name was written on the door of my apartment by Syd Barrett, who was the founder of Pink Floyd. And at first I was very annoyed because he had written it in biro. But my partner Storm said, "This is a great name for our company. Let's call it Hipgnosis." So, thank you, Syd Barrett.
네, 본격적으로 작업 얘기를 한번 해보려고 하는데요. 그 힙노시스가 앨범 커버를 만들던 시기에는 어떤 디지털 툴도 없던 시절이었어요. 그래서 좀 개괄적으로 얘기를 했을 때 어떤 과정을 거쳐서 디자인이 진행이 되고 작업을 진행하셨는지 한번 들어보고 싶습니다.
With Hipgnosis, when somebody asks us to do a design, the first thing I ask, can I hear the music? The second is, can I read the lyrics? The third is there a title for the album? And the fourth is, do you have any feeling about what you want to see? In my experience, somebody like Led Zeppelin, for example, Jimmy Page, I asked him, what can I hear? What can I see? What can I read? Nothing. He said, you cannot see or hear anything, just come with ideas. Whereas Pink Floyd, always I would go to Abbey Road Studios, listen to the album, read the lyrics, and know the title of the album and go away and work to that. So it depended which artist it was, according to how they wanted to behave and what information they wanted to give me. So sometimes, like Houses of the Holy, I just came up with an idea. Whereas Dark Side of the Moon is specifically designed for Pink Floyd to their image of the band at the time.
이렇게 좀 작업 과정과 단계가 되게 복잡하고 지금과는 또 다른 생소한 부분이 많았던 것 같은데요. 그 중에서도 오브리 파웰 작가님은 주로 사진을 이제 담당하셨어요. 그래서 어떻게 이제 멤버들과 이 부분을 분할해서 해당 파트를 전문으로 맡고 책임지시게 되었는지가 궁금합니다.
I was with Storm Thorgerson one day, and I expressed an interest to take photographs. This was before Hipgnosis. And he said to me, I will show you how to use a camera. So the first thing I photographed was a car, a Maserati. And he took me to a dark room where we processed the film, and he put the paper into the developer, and out came a picture of a Maserati. And I was stunned. I thought, this is alchemical, it's magical. And I knew at that point I had to be a photographer. So I had to learn. And at first I photographed anything. Weddings, funerals, social events, sometimes for fashion magazines, to learn the trade. And then luckily, I enrolled in the Royal College of Art Photographic School in London for 6 months, and I learned everything about photography. So that way, I knew how to take photographs. But at that point, I wasn't professional. It took me probably 3 or 4 years of taking photographs every day to learn my trade, to learn how to do it. Then I was ready to take pictures like you see in this exhibition. It's hard work, many hours, and a lot of looking carefully.
사실 지금 답변 주신 내용만 들어봐도 굉장히 작업이 수고스러운 작업들이 많았을 것 같다는 생각이 들어요. 근데 당대에는 LP 커버를 그 뮤지션의 초상으로 상징처럼 사용하던 그런 문화가 이미 있었는데 힙노시스는 어떻게 보면 아예 공식을 깨고 자기들만의 문법을 새롭게 개척한 팀이었어요. 힙노시스가 그렇게 번거롭고 수고스러운 작업을 마다하지 않고 새로운 공식을 만들어가게 된 그 디자인 철학이 어떤 걸까요?
I think the most important thing to understand about Hipgnosis is that we did not design pictures for the band or the music. We designed pictures for ourselves. And many times we thought of ideas that we would like to sell, if you like, to a band. And we were often successful. And sometimes the idea had nothing to do with the music at all. So, for example, in the exhibition 10cc, there's a picture of a sheep on a psychiatrist couch in front of the sea. This is an image of what happens in the mind. The sea is very representative of what happens in the mind. The sheep is representative of people, and the psychiatrist couch is representative of psychiatry. So, what has this got to do with pop music? Absolutely nothing. But it was a good idea. And when I asked for 10cc for the title, Are You Normal? I showed them the picture, and they said, we don't understand it. I said, it doesn't matter. You don't have to. It's a good picture. And I want to shoot it in Hawaii. Hawaii? Very expensive. I said, well, it's the best place. So they said, go to Hawaii and shoot the picture. So sometimes, and many times, hypnosis ideas were not specifically for one person or one band. It just was a good idea, and it was my job to try to sell it to somebody.
방금 말씀 주신 그 텐시씨 작품이 포함될 것 같기도 한데요. 힙노시스의 대표작 3가지만 관람객분들한테 소개해 주신다면 어떤 게 있을까요?
I don't have a best. They're all my children, all my artworks.
그러면 힙노시스가 디자인한 LP 커버 중에 제일 제작비가 많이 든 그 에피소드 커버가 있다면 어떤 건지는 알 수 있을까요?
Wow. Okay. In the 1970s, vinyl sold in tens of millions. Dark Side of the Moon sold 65 million copies. So the music industry was full of money. So when we started Hipgnosis, the budget would be $1,000. By 1977 or 75, when I did Wish You Were Here, The Man on Fire, Shaking Hands, the budget was $50,000. So the budget went up during the 70s with Hipgnosis because the rock stars had so much money to spend. So anything I wanted to do, they always said yes. I was lucky.
핑크 플로이드의 다크 사이드 오브 더 문 커버 그 프리즘은 사실은 이제 하나의 문화적 상징이 됐어요. 뭐 단순한 뭐 유희나 낙천의 상징이 되기도 했고 정치적인 이슈나 젠더 이슈를 상징하는 그 상징처럼 사용이 되는 경우도 많았는데요. 아티스트로서 자신의 작업물이 기존에 본인이 제작을 했던 그 사물을 뛰어넘어서 전 세계 사람들에게 하나의 문화로 알려졌을 때 어떤 감정이 들었는지 궁금합니다.
The prism for Dark Side of the Moon is probably one of the most famous images from rock and roll in the last 50 years. It's always on a T-shirt somewhere. I'm very proud of that. I think the thing that is important about Hipgnosis's work is that it has lasted the test of time. When you look at the images in this exhibition, they don't date. They don't get old. They don't look old-fashioned. They will always be current. Always be, because they're not set in a period of time. It's all about the idea, and this is the most important thing.
힙노시스 스튜디오에는 지금 보고 계신 오브리 파월님과 또 다른 두 멤버분들을 제외하고도 어시스턴트 역할을 하던 많은 그 청년 예술가들이 있었다고 해요. 그래서 한 작가분이시기도 하지만 크리에이티브 스튜디오를 운영하는 대표로서 힙노시스 스튜디오에는 이런 친구들만 데리고 일을 했다. 이런 인재상이 있으시다면 좀 궁금하네요.
Hipgnosis Studio was like an art factory. There were two people who were the boss, myself and Storm Thorgerson. We designed and photographed everything. But we needed other people to help us. We needed graphic designers to do the text. We needed skilled retouchers for the photographs. We needed people who were skilled in putting artwork together. We had to have a secretary. We had to have other people who just were assistants for us. So I suppose after 1973, we had about 20 people working in Hipgnosis. And I always related to Andy Warhol's factory, where he had a lot of people do the work for him. And I was exactly the same. So the people who worked at Hipgnosis had to be quite talented and skilled at their job. and we often interviewed many people to find the right person, and they had to fit in because Storm and myself, we were very hard bosses, really hard, because I could not afford to have somebody who was not good or lazy or was not efficient, because it would reflect badly on our work. So we were very tough with people. But all the people who worked for us went on to be successful. So they are still friendly to me. Even so, I was tough. If I'm hiring a designer, the first thing I'm looking for is somebody who has a lot of skills. Not one skill, but who has a lot of skills. People who can draw, who can illustrate, who can paint, who can do graphics, text, and also can work with lettering. They need to be talented in all these areas. And if I'm giving a lecture to students, I always tell them, don't stick with one thing, learn everything. Learn film, learn photography, learn graphics, learn to paint, learn to draw, because all these things are needed if you're to work in this world, in this industry. It's an art industry, but it is an industry.
이렇게 스튜디오 안에서 식구들처럼 함께 일을 했던 멤버들이 있다면 또 이제 락스타들이나 뮤지션 분들도 힙노시스의 또 다른 팀이기도 하죠. 최근에 LP가 다시 정말 뜨거운 인기를 얻고 있는데 만약에 힙노시스가 그때 그 시절이 아니라 2000년대, 2020년대에 활동을 했다면 혹시 작업을 하고 싶은 아티스트 분이 있으신지 좀 궁금합니다.
Blackpink. Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, I would, actually. The thing is that nowadays it's very difficult to create album covers because people only see them very small. On YouTube, Spotify, you see a little tiny picture. What's the point? You know. But I still like to create imagery for artists, for musicians, because it gives me the scope to be able to be very free with my ideas. I'm not fixed. If I worked in advertising, I would have to show the product. With music, you don't have to show any product. And that's the beauty of it. You can do any design you want and not be fixed by any rule. Like an advertising agency, we must see the beer, we must see the cornflakes, we must see the butter. I don't have that. That's freedom of expression.
네, 조금 다른 챕터로 넘어가 보려고 하는데요. 어떻게 보면 조금 더 사적인 질문이 될 수도 있을 것 같은데 일과 또 일과 관련되어 있는 그 삶에 대해서 몇 가지 질문을 드려보려고 합니다. 힙노시스가 어떻게 보면 되게 어린 시절에 친구들과 함께 창업을 했다고 볼 수 있는 그런 그룹인데요. 좀 미래가 불안하다거나 실패할까봐 걱정스러운 순간이 있진 않았는지, 그 젊은 시절에 무언가 사업을 도전한다는 것 자체가 어려움이 있었던 부분이 있진 않았는지 여쭤보고 싶습니다.
I have never ever thought about failure, ever. Never even crossed my mind. I think if you believe in yourself, as we say in English, you are always a glass half full, not half empty. And I've always had that belief system, always.
실패에 대한 생각을 아예 안 하시고 작업을 하시는 것 같은데 그 동료들하고의 작업 과정에서는 분명히 뭔가 어려움이나 충돌 같은 것들이 있었을 수 있을 것 같아요. 좀 개성이 특히 되게 뚜렷한 동료분들하고 함께했기 때문에 갈등이 생긴 적은 없었는지 또 그런 경우에는 어떻게 해결하셨는지 좀 궁금합니다.
Storm Thorgerson, my partner in Hipgnosis, and I had a very volatile relationship. We argued a lot, sometimes very aggressively. He was very difficult, and sometimes I would throw a camera across the studio at him out of frustration. I think if you are passionate about your work and you believe in your work, you fight for it. So because Storm was very much the ideas man and I was very much the photographer, sometimes I would come back from photographing something and I really believed in that picture, that particular image. And he was not interested in that. He was only interested in the idea. For him, the idea could be photographed anywhere. For me, it was all about style and how it looked. So naturally, we would fight. But at the end of the day, every day, we'd shake hands and be best friends. It was never personal. But that was very important to both of us, to be strong about the work, about the art.
힙노시스의 그 설립 멤버들 중에 이제 힙노시스의 유산을 지키기 위해서 남아 계신 분은 오브리 파월님 한 분이 남아 계세요. 그래서 힙노시스의 창립자이자 또 아티스트로서 그 힙노시스의 스튜디오의 미래가 있다면 어떤 모습일지 또 아마 궁금하실 것 같은데 지금도 디자인 작업이나 LP 작업을 계속 하고 계신지 이런 미래가 궁금합니다.
Depends how long I live. I'm 77 years old, so I hope to live to 100, and I will still be creating pictures for Hipgnosis Studio. Hipgnosis still exists. It's the name that I work under, and I hope it will go on for many years to come. So, fingers crossed.
이제 그 질문을 받기 전에 마지막으로 이 자리에 계신 분들도 예술업에 종사하고 계신 분들도 계실 것 같아요. 오늘날 현대 예술가들에게 지금 건네고 싶은 조언이나 한마디 있다면 어떤 코멘트를 해주실 수 있을까요?
I have advice for young people and who want to be in this world. And really it's 5 rules. One is you need some talent. You must have some idea that you are good at something. 2 is you need to know people. Never be afraid to go and knock on somebody's door. Give me a chance. Let me in. I'm here. I want to work. It's very important to have that confidence. Because nobody is going to come to you and say, hey, come and work for me. It doesn't work like that. I had people come to me who had no idea really what they wanted to do, but within a very short period of time, they understood and they worked hard and they became successful. The third thing is you need to be in the right place. There's no point, if you want to be a successful artist, to live miles in the countryside. You need to be in the city. You need to be in the heart of where everything is happening. It's absolutely important. The fourth thing is timing. When you know that something is happening around you that interests you and what you want to do, and you want to be a part of that, it's very important that the timing that you approach somebody to go for a job is the right time. That's absolutely essential. And the fifth idea is a little bit of, it's luck. You need some luck. Everybody needs a little bit of luck. And if you're lucky, you get a break, and then you can get started. But there is a sixth thing, and that is work hard. When Hipgnosis started, we worked 10 hours a day, 7 days a week. I was so passionate, and so was Storm, about our ability to become famous and successful and get our work out in the world. We didn't care about anything else. Just work, work, work. Because it doesn't come to you. Nobody says, I'm going to make you famous. You have to go and fight for it. And I would say for 10 years, I worked like a dog to become famous. And it paid off. And that is the most important thing. If you want to be a photographer, you want to be a filmmaker, you want to be an artist, work hard at it. It's absolutely essential. And really you have to passionately believe in it to work that hard, because it's difficult. And you have to sacrifice a lot. Relationships, holidays, fun. Sometimes, you know, you just have to believe it. And that's very important. And I think any famous artist is like that. That drives you. And it still drives me now. That is more important to me, hypnosis, and the work that I do, than anything in my life. Upsets my children, upsets my wife, upsets everybody. But that's how I am.
네, 저희가 사실 이 자리에서 이렇게 작가님을 얼굴을 뵙고 이야기를 하고 있는 것도 되게 운인 것 같기도 한데요. 자리에 계신 분들이 궁금해하실 점들이 있을 것 같아요. 그래서 지금부터 현장에서 즉석 질문을 받아서 작가님의 의견이나 코멘트를 들어보는 시간을 한 10분 정도 가질 수 있겠네요. 지금 질문이 있으신 분들은 바로 손을 한번 들어주시겠어요?
저도 그 창작을 하는 집단을 이제 하고 있는데요. 한 명이 이제 그 과투자에 대한 걱정으로 그 팀을 이제 떠나게 됐는데, 본인만의 어떤 그 과투자의 기준이 따로 두고 이제 작업을 하셨는지, 아니면 그냥 믿음으로 진행을 하셨는지, 그런 부분이 궁금합니다.
The problem with any artistic work is you have to believe the art comes first, number one. The money is number two. Not the other way around. Don't go after the money, go after the art. If the art is good, the money will come. That's a very important aspect. A lot of the work is often not very well paid. And that's very difficult, because you have to give yourself to the art and earn very little money. But as I said before, if you work hard, then the money comes later.
결국에는 뭐 예산이든 뭐든 돈과 그 업에 대해서 고민을 하게 되는 순간에 예산이나 비용적인 부분보다는 늘 내가 집중하고 있는 프로젝트나 일을 더 우선시해야 된다는 말씀을 하고 싶으셨던 것 같아요.
저는 현재 아날로그적인 디자인 방법들에 대해 많은 매력을 느끼는 대학생입니다. 그런데 시대의 흐름에 따라 다양한 디지털 기술들이 등장하고 있는데 파월 선생님께서는 그러한 기술들을 어떻게 받아들이셨고 현재는 어떤 식으로 작업을 하고 계신지 그게 궁금했습니다.
Easy. In the 1970s, there was no mobile phone, no computer, no Photoshop. Everything was done by hand. When slowly everything changed, computers arrived, digital artwork was possible, Photoshop was possible, and everything we have now coming to AI. I welcomed it because it made my life easier. And for example, photography, the cameras we have here today are fantastic. The technology is incredible. And the ability to take the chip from the camera, put it in your computer, and instantly you have the picture, and then you in Photoshop you can change everything. I love it.
제가 그 핑크 플로이드의 굉장한 팬인데 그 작가님과 그 핑크 플로이드 뭐 시드 바렛이나 그 로저 워터스랑도 개인적으로 친분이 있다고 좀 알고 있습니다. 그래서 혹시 그들과의 뭐 약간 인상 깊은 일화 같은 게 있으신지 궁금합니다.
I have so many stories. Yeah. The thing about Pink Floyd is I knew them since I was 15 years old. So we've been friends all my life. And I think the saddest story about Pink Floyd is Syd Barrett, because he was not only a wonderful human being, but he was very talented. He could do anything. He could paint pictures, he could play the guitar, he was inventive, he was just a very, very, very clever guy. And he took too much LSD, too much acid. On the Friday, he was fine. On the Monday, he was dead in his head. And that, to me, was the saddest thing that ever happened in my life around Pink Floyd. And to me, it was a lesson to everybody, anybody I meet. And I took LSD myself. Do not play with this kind of drug. Do not play with mind-altering drugs, because it might go wrong. And if it goes wrong, finished. So that is a sad story about Pink Floyd, and one which is very, very important. Because Pink Floyd, a lot of the songs that they wrote afterwards, like Wish You Were Here, Wish You Were Here is about Syd Barrett. They wished he was still well and alive and playing with them. But, so, sorry, that's a sad story, but it's an important lesson. I will tell you a funny story now. There's a band called Black Sabbath, and they are very, very aggressive. And their lead singer, Ozzy Osbourne, is also very aggressive. I went to visit them with some ideas for an album cover called Technical Ecstasy. When I arrived at the studio, Ozzy Osbourne was not there. So I showed the pictures to the other guys in the band, Tony Iommi, and they all went, that one, Technical Ecstasy, the picture of the two robots. We like that. As they decided that, the door opened, and there stood a man all in black. Black hat, black sunglasses, black leather, and he was drunk. It was Ozzy Osbourne. He walked in, and he said, "What's happening?" And I said, "We are choosing the album cover." So he looked at all the album covers. That idea. I said, "That's good, because everybody else wants that idea too." As I said that, he ran at Tony Iommi, the guitarist, and punched him in the face. I was shocked. And the manager grabbed me, grabbed the ideas, and we walked out the studio door because they were fighting and shouting and everything. I got outside the studio door, and the manager said to me, he said, "Well, that was a good result, right?" I said, "What do you mean? They're fighting, it's awful." He said, "We got a decision on the album cover." One last story. One last story. Funny story, okay? Short story. So one day I went to see Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin about an idea for Led Zeppelin. And I was showing him this idea, and it was drawn on a piece of paper. And he turned it over. And on the other side, it said, Uriah Heep, crossed out, Wishbone Ash, crossed out, 10cc crossed out, Pink Floyd crossed out, and he said, "You tried to sell this idea to these other rock bands." I said, "Yes." He said, "Hipgnosis, they are like second-hand car dealers."
힙노시스의 작업 일화가 되게 재밌는 게 많아요. 그리고 이제 오늘 시간이 한정적이라 모든 이야기를 다 들려드리기는 어려웠는데요. 이번 전시의 가장 중요한 포인트가 전시로 쓰여져 있는 모든 텍스트가 다 작가님이 화자세요. 직접 들려주신 이야기들이고 직접 말씀하고 싶은 내용들이 담겨있기 때문에 전시를 관람하시면서 좀 더 디테일한 비하인드 스토리나 이야기들을 한번 찬찬히 둘러보시면서 관람을 하시면 더 재미난 이야기들을 많이 들으실 수 있으실 거예요. 일단 오늘 자리해주신 모든 분들께 감사 인사를 전하고요. 작가님 마지막으로 인사 한 번만 부탁드립니다.
Thank you for coming this afternoon. I really appreciate it, and it's very nice to talk to you. And thank you for asking questions too. And I hope you go away having some idea of what it was like to be in hypnosis and a part of the creation of all this. And thank you.